Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and it appears that I'm on the road again. I'm in traffic, but I was just having a self-dialogue with myself to calm myself down. Kind of like some people, they like to count backwards. Some people stop and they take breaths. I have conversations with myself. Now, I talk to myself, but I don't answer myself, okay? But I have conversation, I have dialogue with myself in order to alleviate any symptoms of anxiety that I might currently be having, One of the things that I had to come to terms with and I had to tell myself is you have to get past the embarrassment of not being who you were, but recognizing what you need to do to get back there. With that, I'm specifically talking about positive habits and routines that used to set me up for success that I parted away from. Even down to having a vision or doing vision boards that I stopped doing. And the reason why I stopped, or the reason for the embarrassment I have acted and done things that were outside of my nature that I never really explored those aspects of myself before. With having outbursts, allowing myself to cry, speaking out about things that I don't care about, or, speaking out about things that I feel like are unfair to who I am as a person. Also, so those are things that just overall allowing emotions to come out is brand new to me. Now I'm a little more ready. I'm ready now to get back into my reservation mode. But I know that was a part of my healing process. I know it was a part of my journey. And the reason why it was a part of my journey is because I had never had the privilege, the ability, whatever you want to call it, of speaking out or voicing my opinion or doing what was on my mind. I never had an outlet because my voice was always a threat, or it was always, you don't say those things, or you're ungrateful, or you're complaining. When in my previous post I talked about, no, airing out a grievance is not complaining in the sense where you're nagging. It's a grievance. It means there's an actual problem that needs to be resolved, and you're bringing it to the surface. And that's why I call it a grievance. When I used to work in healthcare, we would have to file grievances for the customers, and it put more weight into the word, because a grievance is something that is of importance that needs to be notified or looked into or looked at. And sometimes a situation in your life with who you are, you're an entire grievance. And you need to stick up for yourself and say, I don't like the way I'm being treated, or I don't like doing this, or I don't like how this does not serve me. But going back to embarrassment, I am embarrassed with how I have come across, and I'm embarrassed about some of the ways in which I honestly couldn't help. Some of the ways in which I could not help how I expressed myself, because it was so foreign to how I usually express myself, even when I did allow myself to have moments of anger or outbursts. The reason why and not only that, I was embarrassed about the lack of routine and discipline and consistency that I displayed. And the reason why is because, one, I had very scattered energy that literally mimicked that of somebody who was, unstable, or somebody who who could have had some sort of issue, and none of those things were the case. There were a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes that was causing me that false simulation of being unstable, or false simulation of being scattered. And my issue was a lack of mindfulness to be able to bring myself back together. Call in from the ethers all of those particles of energy that's out there that looks like the mosaic of who you are. Call it back in so that you can be a whole picture again. And I was not calling back in my energy. I wasn't doing that. So I was, in a sense, scattered energetically, which manifests into having breakdowns or having weird, like, burnout sessions that I couldn't necessarily explain. Well, because of some of the activity that was going on in my energy, I was exhausted and didn't know why. I was exhausted and I had not done anything physical. I know that there's a difference with me now, because I literally, like, I looked at myself today, I said, oh, I look good because, I've actually been active. My body has actually been moving. And even though my body is moving and there are, it's actually quite strenuous, the movement I've been doing, because I'm out in natural elements. I'm climbing, I'm going over rocks. Sometimes I'm jumping in bodies of water. Depending, for me, I've never been the person who was just in the gym, because the way my mind is very creative. I'll go to the gym, but I love going to classes in the gym. Or I'll go to the gym, but I gotta do something kind of, I gotta have something set up to where I'm doing something fun. Being out in nature and challenging my body and moving my body in nature is very fun to me mentally. And so it doesn't feel like exercise. It feels like a mental obstacle course. But it also helps with that anxiety that tries to come up and creep up and get you outside of yourself, to where, oh my gosh, sometimes it's not always somebody outside of you that's pulling on those particles of your energy and scattering them like confetti. Sometimes it's you, because you're channeling your energy into negative things. And me, myself, I've had to preach to the choir about what I, allow in my ear gate and what I allow in my eye gate. And I'm being more mindful of that as well. But we got our days, However, the embarrassment was me stepping outside of myself and saying, I don't recognize who I am. I don't recognize what's going on with me. This is not my energy. This isn't who I am. However, for the time being, this is how I'm operating. And now, it's like, God, you expect me to take accountability for energy that I don't even recognize that I'm operating in? And he's like, yeah, I do expect you to take full accountability. And not only that, but you need to implement intentionality. But not only that, but you need to learn how to expel this energy. You need to learn how to grow outside of this energy. You need to learn how to grow, And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not fair. I don't understand this. I don't know what's going on. Why do I have to, take on this task? What's going on here, God? And basically he was letting me know, I don't care if you don't feel like this is you. You still have a right. You still have accountability. You gotta heal. And you got to get past whatever this funk or whatever this craziness that you're in, whether you feel like it's you or not. You gotta not only give it over to me, but you got to take accountability by taking it by the horns and learning how is it affecting your life. So just because you're being affected by an energy that you feel is not you, it does not mean that you have the right to just stop everything that you are not push past it and come into agreement with the lie that's being projected in your life. So I had to come to terms with stop being a big baby and do what you don't even want to do and do what you don't even feel like doing, because you have to beat the lie that's being projected onto you. What is the lie? The false energy. You know you're better than that. You know you can do better. You know you are better. So what are we doing here? Why are we coming into agreement with the false pretense of who we are? Why are we coming into agreement with that? Why are we giving energy and why are we just not doing better? And I came to the conclusion, I threw a fit internally. I threw a fit because I was like, I don't know why I am the way I am, and I don't think it's fair that I have to figure out what's going on with me when I never was like this before, and I don't feel like it's anything medical going on with me. I think it's metaphysical. And okay, if it is
hazard ahead on Interstate 110 south and half a mile. You're still on the fastest route.
Thank you, Siri. Even if it is metaphysical, this is still my body, this is still my vessel. Do what you need to do and stop just not doing anything. Stop accepting every attack that comes your way and fight back. And it makes me sentimental even now, although I'm not going to get Bill Klimt. It makes me sentimental even now because it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. It's pride and ego getting past the embarrassment of this is not who I am. I never used to be like this. And now it's like everyone can see something different than who I was. And it's like you don't have anything to prove to anyone. You owe it to yourself to be a better you today than what you were yesterday. It's you versus you. It is not you versus the world. The world has too many important things going on to even focus on you. Okay? So you have to get out of the pride of yourself and you have to go into, okay, I somehow got knocked off my square. I don't know how. Life happened. I kind of could point it to a couple of things, having to take care of, my grandmother and not really pouring back into myself with self-care, and then coming to terms with I don't even know what self-care looks like, as far as anymore, or coming to terms with, hey, there was a little bit of depression that was going on that I had to get through, that I had to muster through, and coming to terms with the fact that you had an alchemical, metaphysical change that happened to you over time, and you are responsible for getting back whole. And part of that is a surrender that you have to God. But that surrender doesn't mean that you give up in life. And so I have to talk myself through that, because for me, I'm very like, that's unfair, that's not right, so I'm not going to do anything. And that does not serve me anymore. I cannot sit up there and say, that's not me, that's not fair, I don't like that image that goes out, I don't like that people are seeing me in this light. First of all, what people see you as is should only be like 10% of your concern, and it's because you're not taking control of your life to be able to project a different narrative. People can only assume what you put out there. So it's they're assuming what's going on, and it's unfair in the sense because what you're putting out there is not you, and it is metaphysical tampering, alteration of who you are. There is a back and forth and internal struggle, inner demons that you're battling with. But while you are here, you need to make the most of it, and also you need to help somebody else. You need to let somebody else know. I know what it is that you're going through. I know what it is that the problem, because I've been going through the same thing. You're not alone. You feel like something else has taken over this vessel of who you are, and you're doing things that you never would have done before. But here's what you have to do. You have to fight against the new persona that is the false you. So last night, that just made me think. I saw The Little Mermaid with my mom last night, and honestly, I'm gonna have to make like a whole review about that, because I honestly don't know what in the hell people were so upset about with seeing a black Little Mermaid. I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but that movie literally represented every race of people on the face of the planet that they could represent. And I remember watching Cinderella with Brandy and rest in peace, beloved Nipsey, Whitney Houston. And I remember Jason Alexander was king, Whoopi Goldberg was queen, their son was a prince and he was Asian, Cinderella was black and it was obviously Brandy, and then the fairy godmother that we saw animated growing up as an older white lady was Whitney Houston. And everybody and Cinderella's stepmother was white. She had a white stepsister and she had a black stepsister. So it was like multicultural. So I was like, how do we go from this back in the late 90s, I think early 2000s is when that Cinderella remake came out, to fast forward, we're in The Little Mermaid and everybody's up in arms. And maybe it's because I was a little kid and I don't remember people being up in arms over Brandy being Cinderella. She probably faced the same backlash as well. But I just was confused, because they had Asian people, Indian people. I said, go ahead, Little Mermaid. And then also I thought about it and I was like, why would people be mad that the Little Mermaid was black when nobody's actually seen a real mermaid? And if you have seen a real mermaid, you probably were in Haiti and you're not here to tell us because something happened. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there because, hey, and I would imagine if there was real mermaids, because they could go so deep into the ocean, they probably would come to the surface and would be like a green or blue or even blue black in tone because of how, or purple, because of how deep they go in the ocean, and the ocean is deep and dark. So I don't know. So that's the way my brain goes. If I saw a mermaid, I would think the mermaid would be either purple, green, or blue black, because that's how dark and deep and vast the ocean is. It wouldn't make sense but that's just my brain. Going back to my brain again, the embarrassment that I faced, that I really don't talk about, that I want to talk about though, to help me get over the hurdle, I faced embarrassment with not being able to keep myself together in discipline and in routine. And even I knew, but I don't really tell people, I know that there has been a decline in my there was a decline in my intellectual capabilities, and now my intellectual capabilities, not only that, but my wisdom versus knowledge, my wisdom is growing and my inner wisdom is growing. Now, with that, you still need people in your life that know more than you, done more than you, seen more than you, and have more than you to be able to impart into you. I'm very much understanding of the importance of having a mentor. But it's embarrassing for me to have to admit to people that sometimes there's things that go on with me that I can't necessarily explain. And the reason why I can't explain them is because the things that have gone on with me affected me in the unseen realm. And this happens with a lot of people, I think. I think the difference is, like I said, mindfulness and meditation will help bring those energetic particles back together. But to be completely honest with you, I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always unsure of myself. I wasn't always had a frantic streak in me. I wasn't always like this. I'm be completely honest with you. It wasn't always a struggle, and I would always have people say like, "Oh my gosh, you're so wise for your age. You know, you have a deep wisdom." And so for that wisdom, not only wisdom, but common sense along with that wisdom, to just completely be like, it's not there. It's embarrassing and it hurts because it's something that left over time. That's what it is. It's something that left over time. It's embarrassing and it hurts. And it's hard to let people know that. So I'm very upfront when it comes to neurodivergent, being on the spectrum. I'm very vocal about that because I don't want other people to feel like, oh, I would never want somebody else to feel bad about that because they might also struggle with certain things, but not be able to have an outlet or have somebody that looks like them that will tell the truth about what they deal with. For me, it's not only, being neurodivergent, I look at it as a superpower, but having a loss of sense of self, losing your inner voice, losing your inner wisdom, that's the thing that hurts. I don't know what happened, but I can attribute it. I feel like I can pinpoint it to not trusting myself, not having enough confidence, and also not having the tools or knowing how do you gain the confidence? How do you build confidence muscle? How do you get that? So it was a lot of things that went along, that goes along with being me. And I just want to share, if anyone feels like they used to be on their A game, they used to have things together, and it feels like your whole life has kind of like fallen apart, going to shit as far as who you are. Not necessarily what you have, but that sense of self. For me, I've had to pray and meditate and ask God, give me back my sense of self, my inner wisdom, my sense of who I am. My sense of who I am. I want my sense of who I am. I want my sense of self back. And with that being said, it's just like it comes back slowly, but I also have to be patient with it. And I also have to continue to exercise the muscle of it, continue to exercise the muscle of it, which is putting in the effort of building the routine and not getting so beside myself where I'm just like, I'm giving up on this. I'm looking at a sign right now. It says, level up, build your skills, build your future. And that's what it's about. Starting all over again, leveling up, building your skills, building your future, building who you are. Just start over and become what you want to be. Envision it. Research what it is that you want to be. Research what it is, how you want to come across, and start implementing that again. If you deal or have dealt with pride like me, that may be your issue, because at one point you had it. It's like an athlete. If you at one point in your prime was untouchable, and then let's say you had an injury and that left you not being able to be on the court for some time. Okay, you're still, a valuable person. But when you go back on the court, you don't necessarily play the same way. You don't have the same moves. There's something going on. So with that being said, you're not less than a person. Just because you lost your touch, you lost your spark. You got to condition yourself back in the gym to get it back. It's not something that magically just comes back to you. Now you've got to go into the practice, the exercise of getting that spark, je ne sais quoi, whatever it was, back. Because you have a game to play, and that's the game called life. And I think for me, my pride was, if I had it then, Why wouldn't I have it now? And it's like, that's not how life works. If life is a game, then you've got to practice at it. And practice makes perfect. But you're not, you can be a natural talent, but you can't just rely on your natural gift. You've actually got to do something. And it's like, well, I used to put in the work. I used to do this. I used to do that. Nobody knows about when I did this. Nobody knows about when I did that. Nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. And if they did know, they'll never acknowledge it. And I had to come to terms with that. Nobody cares about what you used to do. Nobody cares about what you were good at. Nobody cares. Everybody cares about what's going on now. And okay, yeah, you had something happen to you. What are you going to do to fix it? So I had to come out of pride to be able to say, okay, I don't have it like how I used to. I don't know what happened. I lost it, or either it blew up. I don't know. It fizzled into the air and it's fairy dust now. But what can I do to get it back? And what I have to do to get it back is I have to exercise it. I've got to implement it, and I've got to refamiliarize myself with what it is that had me at the top of my game at one point. What was it that had me in routine? What was it that had me? What was it? What was it about me that had me at the top of my game? That now I'm like, okay, what's going on? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. That was one of the things that I stayed by. I stayed by. I stood by. That was my thing. And when I got knocked off of my square, my pride jumped in, and my pride said, this is who we were. We don't need anyone telling us what to do, this and that. They don't know what we've been through. They don't know what we've had to accomplish. They don't know that we used to do this, that, and the third. And like I said, and they don't care. It's about, what are you doing now? Nobody cares about all that. What's going on with you now? So I say that to say this. You might have a problem with pride if you're not able to come to terms with the fact that you are not the same person that you were. You've had a downgrade in who you are as a person. You've lost your sense of self. You got knocked down. You got bruised. And now you don't know kind of how to get yourself together or pick yourself back up. That doesn't mean that you're like less than a human being or that you're not worthy. It means that God has granted you the grace to have another day to live. Get up out of your pride and learn how to implement things again. Learn how to do things again. Get up out of your embarrassment. For me, I was embarrassed because I was like, oh my God, people are going to think that I absolutely know nothing and that, something is wrong with me, because look at how I'm responding to certain situations that I never responded to before. What's going on? Why am I responding like this? What is this? This is not me. Well, it may not be who you think you are, but it's an aspect of you that's coming out right now. Okay? And you're not a bad person for it. It's just like, okay, all right, what do we do? Pivot. What do we do? Change. How do we change it? How do we change that? What do we do to change that? So it's totally fine. Remain calm, strengthen what remains, and condition yourself to do better. That's it. Condition yourself to do better. Condition yourself to know, I am better. I can get past this. I don't have to settle for less. I don't have to dwell on what happened in the past and this, that, and the third. I don't have to dwell on all of that craziness. I can literally just say, hey, this isn't me. I don't know how I got here or what happened that we did get here. I don't know what happened, but this ain't me. This ain't me. This isn't, I want better for myself. And in order for me to get better for myself, I got to do better and be better. It's okay to admit that you suck right now. That you're not at your best, you're not at your prime right now. You don't suck as a person. It's just the condition that you're in. And that's not an excuse to give up. That's not an excuse to stop. It's actually an excuse to investigate and get better. Bye for now.